Hi everybody, it's me, Corey T, and in this video I want to talk about the difference between blaming yourself and taking responsibility for whatever's happened, whatever's been created, whatever you're feeling, and whatever is showing up. Because I know that you've probably heard 1,000 times in this community that we are responsible for our reality, and we're responsible for the way we feel, and we're even responsible for the way other people are showing up. And I think that this can create some kind of toxic messaging that puts an enormous amount of pressure on us that's really, really unhealthy. So I want to dive deeper into that and unravel it and give you some foundational beliefs to go by so that you don't go into this blaming and guilt and shaming yourself for whatever's showing up in your reality. So before I do that, I just want to remind you that at the moment, until Friday, I've decided to extend it till Friday now, there is a 20% discount on my one-to-one coaching. So if you want to talk to me personally about your situation, about whatever you're manifesting, then I would love to speak to you, and you can use the 20% discount until the 15th now. It was originally the 14th. I've extended it by a day, so you can use that until Friday. You just type in Easter 20 into the checkout when you check out on the website, and it will deduct 20% from whatever it is that you want to purchase, whether that's a single session or a package. So hopefully see you soon. Right, so let's look at this taking responsibility thing, because it's so important. It really is so important, but there's a way that we can do it that is not blamey or judgy or not being very nice to ourselves about it. Because you've probably heard and seen messaging on the internet which is like, well, if you're not doing this, then of course it's not happening for you. And if you're not living in the end all the time, then of course your SP is not conforming. And if you're feeling like this and you're feeling really bad, then of course it's not happening for you. And I just think that's really toxic and really uncomfortable for people to hear, and just puts an enormous amount of pressure on everyone to just feel okay all the time. When I think this whole process goes a lot deeper than just living in the end. It goes a lot deeper than just feeling good and imagining things and all of that and all of the techniques that you see. There's a lot more to it, I think, and it comes down to actually mental health and healing and really understanding what's going on inside of you. So, right, the first thing that I want to say is that if something's happened, say something was said or done, or an event happened, whatever it was, and you're looking back at it and you're thinking, oh my God, why did I say that? Or I should have done this. I shouldn't have shown up like that. I should have been less like this or like that. And you're looking at a situation and you're thinking, I should have been different. The first thing that I want to say about this is that you didn't know what you didn't know. You probably know a lot better now, and you can probably look at things in retrospect and think, oh, if it was now, I would respond differently. But you didn't know what you didn't know. So first of all, you can't judge yourself for not knowing what you didn't know, can you? So if it was someone else and like something happens and they don't have the information to respond in the way that would be right or the best way, the best possible way, you wouldn't be angry at them. You wouldn't judge them. You'd say, oh, well, she didn't know any better, or he didn't know any better. So of course that's how they're going to show up. And you've got to do that for yourself. You've got to not judge yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. And actually, if you can see it as, okay, I didn't know what I didn't know, but that thing that happened taught me something that I now do know. So actually it was meant to be. That whole thing, whatever it was that was unfavourable, was meant to be so that you could get the lesson, so that you could then respond differently next time, so that you could feel a deeper sense of self-love, a deeper sense of self-awareness. Whatever happened was supposed to happen for your highest good. And you didn't know any better, so you cannot blame yourself for what you didn't know. So I hope I've said that clearly. The other thing is to be careful of the word should. I should have done this. Change should to could, because should is a judgment, right? Should is like, oh, you should have done this. Oh, why didn't you do that? You really should have done that. You know, when someone says that to you, it's really uncomfortable, isn't it? When someone says, oh, well, you should have said that, or why did you do that? You should have done that. It's really uncomfortable to hear someone say that to you. So don't say it to yourself. Change it to could. Well, I could have done that, but actually I didn't. You know, I could have done that, but I didn't at the time because I didn't know any better. Or I could do that if I wanted to, and it's a choice, like it's like changing should to could just takes away all that judgment, and give that to yourself so that you don't feel like you're judging yourself so badly. This whole thing is about deepening your self-love, isn't it? And if you imagine someone else talking to you the way that you're talking to yourself, and you think, would I like this if someone else was talking to me like this, and I'm judging myself and saying, oh, you should have done that, and you should have done that, and oh, you idiot, why did you say that? Why didn't you act like that? Why didn't you show up as more secure in that situation? If someone else was saying that to you, you'd feel really small and really contracted and really like, not very nice. So don't make yourself feel like that. Give yourself the love that you would expect and hope that someone else would give you if you were opening up to someone about these things. Give yourself that love. Be the person who gives you the most love, the most compassion, the most understanding, and the most patience. Have patience with yourself. You all want to be the best versions of yourself. You all want to be the healed versions of yourself. You all want to be the version of you that can have everything you want. You're doing your best. You can't do any more than that. You're doing your best. And like I always say, you are exactly where you're meant to be, because all of these things that have happened or are happening or are evolving or are showing up are bringing you to those lessons, to those insights, to that deeper understanding, to that point where you go, right, I'm letting go now. And all of that is necessary for you to get whatever it is that you want. So you've got to see every single thing that happens as a benefit to you. Even if it looks unfavourable at the time, see it as it's happening in your best interest, right? And from here, this is where you can take responsibility, because you can say, yeah, I can see that at that moment I didn't respond as I would have now. But now that I have learned this lesson, I can see that I would respond differently. Or I can see, if I don't know how I would respond differently, I can see that what I'm deciding to do is take responsibility for the fact that I'm learning. I'm deciding to commit to myself. I'm deciding to commit to my happiness. I'm deciding to take responsibility for my happiness by seeking out information, reading things, watching things, and absorbing as much as you can and learning and growing to the best of your ability. That is all you can do. If you can always remind yourself that you're doing your best, then it's a much more self-loving place to be. So far what we've got is, you didn't know what you didn't know, so you can't judge yourself for that. Change should to could, because that takes away the judgment. And just remember that now you're taking responsibility for your happiness, and you're learning from the lessons as you go along. You can see these things sometimes in retrospect and sometimes before they happen, so that you can make different decisions as you go along and as you're healing. And that is taking responsibility. Right, let me look at my notes. Hang on, what else have I written here? I had a client the other day, and she came to me and she was upset because something unfavourable had happened. And what she said was, do I really not love myself that much? And she said, I'm worried that I'm not healing enough. And what I said to her was, can you see how I'm not good enough is just finding another way in there? It's using your healing journey now as evidence that you're not good enough. And that's just not true. You're always where you're meant to be. You're good enough whether you're healed or not. And you can create what you want no matter where you are in that healing journey. And the pain that we feel about something that happens is often equal to the amount that we're dependent on it for our sense of validation and self-love. So if something happens and you feel really distraught about it and you feel really, really in pain, then that's your evidence, that's your cue to go, wow, this is really hurting. And so I can see that I'm really dependent on this thing for me to feel okay. And that is where you go from. You go from there and you think, okay, I can see that I'm really dependent on this thing right now. And that's my evidence and my proof that I need to work on being the one to give myself that love, being the one to fill that emptiness, that feeling of sadness, that feeling of lack, that feeling of needing something, in order for you to feel content and calm and whole and at peace and not needing. And you've got to be the one to give yourself that love. So whatever the pain is that you're feeling is really equal to the amount that you are dependent on that thing. And that is evidence for you. That is information for you that you can take and use and take responsibility for going forward. But, you know, it's not your fault that you're not there yet. It's not your fault that you've got things that you're working on. It's not your fault that you've got things from your childhood, from your teenagers, traumas, past things that are unresolved within you. We're all a little bit messed up from things that have happened in the past. We're all unlearning stuff. We're all on a journey. Be kind to yourself on that journey, no matter what happens, no matter where you are. You're okay. You're okay. Everything's going to be okay. And you need to be so proud of yourself for actually doing this, for doing this work. And also, you know, when you are hurt by something or something shows up in your reality that's unfavourable, see it as a blessing, because it's leading you back to self-love. Your specific person, for example, is a massive blessing, because actually that specific person has brought you to these sorts of YouTube channels where you're learning about self-love, where you're learning to empower yourself, where you're learning that you're the most important thing, your feelings matter. And all of these things, all of these hurts and these painful things that have happened have led you to this place of healing and growth and taking responsibility for yourself and your happiness. So that's one thing to remember. So I just really wanted to highlight that point about, you know, how sometimes when we're on this journey, we can look at things and we can think, really? Am I that unloving of myself? Am I that unhealed? Really? Is that where I'm at? Oh my God, there's something wrong with me. Actually, no, there is nothing wrong with you. If you can use all of the things that have hurt you or things that have gone wrong and use them as an opportunity to deepen your sense of self-love, then you're taking responsibility. And just do that over and over and over again. It's just about learning to love where we're at and being okay with where we're at over and over and over again. And doing that consistently allows you to trust yourself, to deepen that sense of trust within yourself, which then affects the way that you trust other people and the way that you see other people, and therefore the way other people show up for you. You're always learning, you're always growing. And if you can take away the blame, take away the shame, and just take it as evidence and take responsibility for that, then you are growing and you're in the right direction. One way that you can do this is to imagine a really, really kind person. Imagine someone that's really shown you a lot of love or a lot of care. And if you can't think of someone, you know, in your life that's done that, then imagine what it would be like for someone to really deeply care about you, to really listen to you and understand and see your pain and say, hey, I see you. You know, this must have been really hard for you. And I'm here for you, and we're gonna change this. Don't worry, I'm with you. And if you can imagine a person like that, someone that maybe you know, or someone that, you know, you've even only met once, but if you can imagine someone like that, or imagine it in your imagination, what would it be like to have someone like that, or for someone to show you that care? Then take that care that you imagine and give it to yourself. You are that loving, kind person. You're the one who understands you the most. You're the one who's going to get you out of whatever has happened. You're the one that's going to create your happiness. You're the one that is going to turn everything around. And if you can be that person, your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader, who says, I've got you, don't you worry about this, we're going to sort this out, then you create that deep sense of self-love, self-trust, and self-responsibility, without the blame, without the shame, without the guilt of everything that's happened. We're not going to judge anything that's happened in the past. That's been, it's gone, we've taken the lessons and we're bringing them forward, okay? That's how we do this, okay? I can't tell you how many times my coaching sessions have started with someone saying, I know it's me, I know it's my fault, I know it's me, I know this is all me that's created this, but, and I'm like, oh my God, look how much you're judging yourself, look how much you're blaming yourself, look how much you're, you know, feeling bad about what's happened. And I feel like it's like partly because of the messaging in this community that I've seen so many times, that creates this self-blame and self-judgment and the guilt for not creating what we want, for not being where we want to be. Don't beat yourself up. You are where you're meant to be, and your story is unfolding perfectly in perfect timing, and everything is going to be okay. We can take responsibility for healing our past trauma, for going on that journey. We can take responsibility for the thoughts that we think most dominantly. We can take responsibility for being the one that's going to create our happiness and going to take the lead in creating the life that we want. We can take responsibility for those things and our choices and the way that we are showing up in our reality. Those are things that we can become more conscious of and make new choices and create new decisions and therefore create new outcomes. We can take that responsibility, and that's something that's so exciting to be able to do. I don't believe that we can take responsibility for other people's past traumas. That is something that we can influence through loving ourselves, through showing up differently, through becoming the best version of ourselves, or the healed version of ourselves, the version of ourselves that is actually already there, that just needs to be unraveled through this work that we're doing. But I don't believe that it's our responsibility to take the blame and take the fault when someone shows up in our reality as unhealed and they do things that are maybe narcissistic, that are, avoidant, that are not self-loving. And that is their stuff. Other people have their stuff too, All we can do is be a light in this journey for other people so that other people see what we're doing. Other people are inspired by us. Other people respond differently to us because we are responding differently to our triggers and our emotional things that we've gone through and that show up for us. When we respond differently, the world responds differently. When you take responsibility for your own existence and for your own emotional world, you begin to create a ripple effect on everyone around you. But it's not your responsibility to individually figure that out for them, and I think that's why everyone's you pushed out gets really, really confusing, and I probably need to do a whole nother video on my perception of everyone's you pushed out. But I think we need to be careful with it because it can go into this blurry land of, what? Did I create this person, being really nasty or really horrible or doing something that you would never imagine doing, or, doing something that was really, really bad or whatever? We think, what? Is that my fault? Did I create that? In my personal opinion, I think that it's safer for you to say, okay, my version of everyone's you pushed out is everyone has their traumas. I'm responsible for mine. And so whenever someone else shows up in a way that's unhealed or, not in a favorable way, you can see that, okay, that doesn't have to hurt me and it's not my responsibility to fix it because I'm dealing with my own stuff. And I can see that this person has their own stuff too, so that you don't need to feel the pressure of resolving that through your own thoughts and your own thinking. All you can do is imagine that things can change, because they can. Imagine that people grow, people are healed, people evolve just like you are, so why shouldn't anybody else? But I really do think we have to be careful with blaming ourselves and thinking, oh my God, did I create that? When I just don't think that is a healthy way to think. And I think sometimes the everyone's you pushed out thing can create actual mental health problems and obsessive thinking and fear of thinking certain things. And I just don't think that we should go down that road. So we take responsibility for our inner world, for the way that we are perceiving our world, and that creates the changes that we want to see in our reality. But that's all we can do. We can't be responsible for everybody else, and that's my personal opinion about that. So I hope that this video has been helpful, and I hope it's given you some peace. And I hope that you can feel excited about taking responsibility and not feel shameful or guilty or bad about anything that's been created or anything that's happened in the past, because you didn't know what you didn't know and you are exactly where you're meant to be. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.